2015 triple murder trial on Lina Street in Savannah have been found guilty.
Our Danielle Lawan was inside that courtroom when the verdict was read. Danielle, what can you tell us right now?
Well, guys, James Hampton and Dwayne Abney walked into the courtroom on Monday afternoon, both facing over 40 counts of charges each. Today, just after 3, the judge read that verdict and the jury found them guilty on almost all of those charges. Diamond Butler, the young lady who provoked the incident, admitted to suggesting Hampton, quote, wet or shoot up the house of Kiana Marshall. Butler faces charges of aggravated assault, conspiracy, and burglary. Emotions ran high throughout this 5-day trial. The judge actually had to clear the gallery after crying and emotional outbursts from family members. The judge even made a closing comment to the jury on the difficulty of this case.
This has been an extraordinarily difficult case. It is unusual in this court's experience, and I have presided over many trials involving horrific kinds of crimes.
Both of these men face life sentences without parole. The date of the sentencing hearing has not been set, but we will continue to follow the story.
And her brother Corey Martin and their friend Alexis Kitchens. Our Danielle Lawan was in court for the verdict and met with Hampton's father this evening. Danielle, like the victim's family, he must be devastated by the tragedy too.
That's right, Don. Hampton's father tells me when he heard the news, he fell to his knees, asked forgiveness for himself. He was in prison most of his son's life, and mom often absent. He says violence like this starts in the home, and it's his fault that his son was not raised in a proper one.
Whether he was guilty or not, I just went back to his childhood.
Growing up without guidance from a mother or father.
All this was taking place, he was just 7 years old, and I was in prison.
James Hampton Jr.'s father says he feels the weight of blame on his shoulders.
He's just a child. There's nobody there to show him, to tell him.
He says the lack of love at home sent him looking for it elsewhere. In this case, it was Diamond Butler, the young lady who provoked Hampton and Abney to murder 3 people.
If you wanted him to wet or shoot up that house, what did you say?
I said yes, and I said I don't care.
The lead prosecutor says Butler's testimony against Hampton helped determine their case.
She stated that they got back. She saw them with their guns. She said that James was sweating and shaking. And at one point, she was hugging up on him, and that was when he whispered in her ear that he killed all 3.
His father says Hampton developed an obsession with violent video games and guns at an early age.
He had so much of it, you know, he had so much of it. Even the rap songs, the hardcore rap songs and all.
The investigator says after Hampton murdered the 3 victims, he came back with Abney to meet Butler. The 3 kicked back and listened to a rap song about shooting people.
They drank, smoked marijuana, and listened to rap songs to include Yo Gotti's Bulletproof.
Hampton's father says as he looked into the eyes of the parents whose kids his son murdered, he felt responsible and understood their relief that his son was proven guilty.
Even though it's my son being convicted of this, they lost their loved ones. I was so grateful to see them able to smile.
Both James Hampton and Dwayne Abney face life sentences without parole. The sentencing hearing to determine that will be held January 3rd.
So as you see part of seeing the 2015 triple homicide that happened in Carver Village, that happened way before I started my YouTube channel. But however, I just want to talk about the situation, more so about how the father feels about his son murdering 3 people. I just want to analyze what he kind of said to the WTOC reporters about how he felt like he was to blame for his child doing this murder because of him not being in the household, and I guess that his mother wasn't in the household as much. And pretty much I ain't really want to talk about it in detail like this, but you know, when I cover crime and homicides and pretty much anything that's of this nature, you know, rarely often do you hear the parents admit to their wrongdoings. You know, believe it or not, there's a lot of ain't shit parents in the city of Savannah. So hardly ever do you ever hear any parent just admit to their child's wrongdoings. Even something as horrible as this, man. You know, this guy, he stood up for himself and said, well, he wasn't raised right. And I guarantee you a lot of other parents wouldn't have said that about themselves, because not only that, but he just really admitted that he wasn't a good parent. And I just want to say about the situation, maybe, you know, maybe he wasn't there for his child, you know, as how he should have been. But, you know, I don't really want to get on that level because, you know, I don't have kids, and that's just a whole nother topic. But at some point, you got to get to the understanding that you can't control what another person does in life. You can influence them, you can tell them right from wrong, but at that same time, that person has to make that decision for their own selves. As good as a parent you are, anybody's children can fall a victim to a crime, even as vicious and brutal as this, because as far as the bloodiest crime scenes in Savannah in the past 10 years, this is probably one of them. This probably is on the top 10 list, because we had a triple homicide this year, but no, this one was talked about a lot when this happened. This was pretty much a notorious event when this happened. I mean, very, very bloody scene. Like I said, you know, you don't really hear that with the parents admitting to them being wrong, but I would just want to say, you know, it's a really tragic situation for all families involved. One family loses cousins, friends, brothers, sisters, all that. Another one loses another family member or members to the prison system. So at the end of the day, nobody really wins at all. And as far as the girl, Diamond Butler, who basically snitched on these guys, there's no, I mean, she's being charged separately. She's not being charged with murder. I believe she's being charged with aggravated assault and a few other charges, but they aren't finished with her trial because she's tried separate from them. So any other updates for this as far as sentencing and anything else, I'll let y'all know as well.